Thank you for tuning in today. This is Spotlight on Education, and I'm your host, Tina Duckett, Public Relations Director for the Troup County School System. This program is designed to bring you information about our schools. And today, joining me in the studio is Cindy Kemp, and she is an instructional specialist with Hogansville Elementary School. Thank you, Miss Cindy Kemp, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
We are excited to learn all about Hogansville Elementary School, located in Hogansville, Georgia.
That's right.
What I'd like to do first, though, we know that there are two administrators, and you're one of the administrators in the building. But who is the principal?
Our principal is Brett Bryant.
Okay, Brett Bryant, and he's been on the show before. It's been
Yes.
maybe a year or so ago, but
Right.
he shared great information, and I know that he has sent his best to represent Hogansville
He
today.
has, he has. Thank you.
And we're going to learn so much about Hogansville. Tell us about the faculty and staff that support the operations there.
Okay. We've got about 35 certified staff members and 25 roughly classified staff members, so that would be all of our teachers, all of our custodial staff that keeps the school in order, all of our cafeteria staff who prepare the meals for the children and the teachers, and pretty much everyone, office included.
So that's 35 total?
35 of our certified, and then about 25 classified, so we're right around 60
Okay.
to 65.
Okay, good, good. And how many students are enrolled currently?
We have stayed right around 450 students this year.
Okay, so that is, did you see a trend as far as increase, or that's just the norm?
You know, it's pretty normal. We have gone below that just a little, and then above it just a little bit, just depending on the needs of the families, the time of year, and things going on in the community.
Okay. Well, let's get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
You've been in education for a number of years. Tell us give us some of your background in education.
I've been in education for 20 years, 19 of which are credibly served right here in Troup County.
Oh, good.
And I've been an administrator. This is my going on 8th year.
Okay. And what school did you attend as far as college to get your
My
degree?
undergrad attendance was at Columbus State. I grew
Okay.
up in Columbus and went to school right there at home. And then for my master's and my specialist degree, I went to Troy University
Okay.
in Phoenix City on their campus.
And what drew you into education? Why this profession?
I was active in sports a lot, and going
What
from
sport?
being
Just curious.
Well, I cheered Pee Wee
Okay.
through college, and
Okay.
then gymnastics. And even though I didn't play soccer, I wanted to be on the sidelines as a ball girl.
Okay.
I would help schedule and score basketball at the basketball games sometimes. So just here and there, I'm just real big into sports.
Okay.
But my gymnastics went from being a participant into being offered a job as a coach, and then with some recreational classes, but then it went into having both recreational and competitive. And I just realized, I really enjoyed the kids, really enjoyed taking them from one entry level, maybe skill level, onto something else.
Oh,
And just
that's good.
progressing, so it just seemed like a natural fit.
Good. And
Yeah.
we need people who, in this particular profession, where they see it as a call. You
Yeah,
know, it's just
yeah.
not something one day, I think I'm going to teach, but you really have a heart for
Right, it just
educating.
felt fun, and it felt rewarding, and I looked forward to each class.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
we're glad you're part
Thank
of the
you.
Troup County School System.
Thank you very much.
Well, tell us about the direction Hogansville Elementary is moving. In
Okay.
what direction? Meaning, what is the focus? What is the mission?
Our mission is no different from the county's mission of educating all of our students in a challenging and safe environment. We want everyone to reach their potential. We want them to be able to function independently in a diverse world.
And that's important. We've got to give them the skill set to be able to do that.
That's right.
And it actually starts in pre-K or before, and then just in elementary school with teachers who are sensitive to meet the needs of the kids.
Right.
And so we know that there plenty is at Hogansville Elementary. So tell us about the goals of the school.
Okay. Any school, not just Hogansville, but any school always tries to set their goals based on where they think they can improve. And our goals are always based on the data that we get back from our students or from the teachers. And looking back, you kind of have to go back a year. And so looking back at least a year, we realized there were a couple of areas where we needed to see some improvement. Just because you want your proficiency rates of your students to be as high as they can be.
Certainly.
So that might mean if you had some students who didn't really meet their goal to begin with, it's always looking at how to get them from not meeting it to meeting it. Mm-hmm. If you had students who did meet goals, it's looking at how to get them from not just meeting the goal, but exceeding it and moving on. So it's constantly pushing them. And two areas that we really identified as being big school-wide. Mm-hmm. One is in the area, it really mostly cropped up in reading and language arts, but specifically it's vocabulary. A lot of the students will come in and teachers from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade will say there's a lot of vocabulary that it just doesn't seem that they've acquired, and without that comprehension, that just affects everything, every subject.
I'm sure. So with those goals, are you meeting those goals, and if so, how?
We are working toward meeting the goals, and we're measuring that along the way, keeping a check on the student achievement piece. Mm-hmm. With the vocabulary, this is a new program called Discussions for Learning. It's new to us. I'm not sure how long it's been around, but we discovered this at the end of last year after so much talk had cropped up in meetings from teachers about the need for vocabulary reinforcement. This one is different because it uses images. It uses fine art images or real photographs as the basis for what the children are able to discuss. There isn't really any writing. It's not a performance-based piece. It's really focused on language acquisition. And through this, the children all are able to see the image together, with the teacher prompting the discussion and leading them towards words, and they make sense because we've spent a lot of time in quantum learning, which says there's no comprehension without picturing. So a lot of times, just giving words to kids and trying to draw them into understanding a concept or something isn't enough, but to just give them the picture with it, to me, is a shortcut.
Yes.
So we found the shortcut. We are seeing it in action in the classrooms. The feedback we've gotten is that the students like it, the teachers like it. We see them interacting with the teachers, using words, and we're not sure how we're going to see this come up in our student achievement because vocabulary affects everything.
Absolutely.
So we would love to say that we could get some really hard data and numbers as to the effect of the program, but we feel like we're going to see it in every subject. So we think we can go ahead and credit it as being, yes, we're moving toward our goal. We're moving kids into being more proficient. We hear them using the vocabulary. The other goal that we identified that was a big one in the school is math.
Okay.
So in math, you can break it down into lots of different areas, but the one area where students seem to really need the most of a foundation is number sense and just being able to talk about numbers. And so we have, this is, I think, Hogansville's 4th year working with BBY. It's a math program designed by teachers, for teachers.
And the name is BBY. It's not an acronym.
That's right.
Okay.
BBY is the name of it, and we have had the pleasure of a consultant. She's based in California, but Troup County Schools has made her available to us, and she's come to our school, worked with our teachers, modeled lessons, or watched us in action to be able to interact and give feedback and just have conversations about how we can best move towards our goal, having the kids have that good number sense as they move through the grade levels.
Okay, now back to this I just had, and this is called Discussions Learning, right?
Discussions for Learning.
The Discussions for Learning.
Yes.
Now, what grade level?
The program, I believe it's designed for K through 8.
Okay.
And so the discs are loaded with images. That's what this is. It's the books that will be a little different in their script. So what a kindergarten teacher might say to prompt the discussion about the images to her students would be different from what a 5th grade teacher might say to hers.
Okay. Now, BBY, did you bring any other examples that you'd like to share discussing
Yes,
BBY as an instructional strategy?
I did.
Okay.
What I have really pertains to pre-K.
Okay.
And in our school improvement plan, we always have known that BBY is a part of what we do, but we also have kept it as a strategy to improve student achievement. And in our school improvement plan, we specifically wrote it as kindergarten through 5th grade because when we began this year, we didn't have BBY for pre-K. But through our consultant and through the professional learning, we've picked up this piece, and that's what I brought today because pre-K jumped on this and we weren't exactly sure how the students would receive the instruction in math, but it's worked out to be very nice. So this is just really a picture, and I apologize if it can't be seen very clearly, but in the classrooms, the teachers have used the math program, sometimes whole group with all of the students around, sometimes just with a small group of kids at a table.
Okay.
And so one day in whole group, that's where this character came in.
Okay.
The teacher used this, but it was really not the focus of the lesson. She was off to the side. The students had different pieces of, these are just manipulatives, and these were little candy pieces, or they may have had other little items, sometimes just little chips, little tokens that they use.
Okay.
But they were all meant to be something small the kids could pick up, but then also have a quantity. And with this, they use what they call 10 frames. And the 10 frames are working with the students, getting them used to hearing about 10, making 10, and just having that sensibility to know.
And this is in pre-K.
This is in pre-K.
Good.
And just knowing how to count to 10, what 10 might look like, what 1 might look like, how to represent a number. And the children were given task cards that may have they already had number representation on them. So this one would be 4 and this one's 5. But they weren't told what it was. They had already had several lessons leading up to this, and they counted, and for them it's one-to-one correspondence, so they would build based upon what they had, and then they had to take their items and feed her.
Okay.
So this was really the end of the lesson, to deposit all of those manipulatives and collect it back in here. But in their mind, it was a game.
Yes.
And they loved it, and they were engaged.
And learning should be fun.
And it was math, yes.
Yes. And how often is math fun for students? We know that for several students, it's often
can be a
challenge.
It can be, because it's not as natural to talk about math at home. So a lot of the time, a lot of that new vocabulary comes straight from school when they come to school. So we do try to make it as fun as we can.
And that makes learning fun and children willing to come to school.
Right,
You don't have them
right.
kicking and screaming in the morning.
Right.
They're actually looking forward
And
to being
excited.
there.
What are we going to
Yes.
do? What can we play? If it looks like play, they're all for it.
And I think what I hear you saying, because you mentioned this particular system uses pictures, this one is more hands-on. You're addressing the different learning styles that we all have. We learn different ways.
We do, and I think that's part of it. When the kids are as young as pre-K and you've got a class of 4-year-olds, that abstract thinking isn't quite there. And we want to push them and to be able to answer higher order thinking questions, but they need concrete things that they can touch to make sense of first. So we do try to make sure that when we give them, especially math, that we have something for them to manipulate so that they can make sense of it. And then as they get older, we try to wean them off of concrete manipulatives and onto just that mental math
Yes.
and abstract thinking.
Now talk a little bit about higher order thinking. You mentioned that briefly, but if you could expound on that a little bit more for our audience so they'll understand what do we mean.
Right. In classrooms, it's easy to have discussions with students that revolve around recall questions, especially if you've done something together. Maybe it was an image, maybe it was an activity, and to have them recall what they just did is usually the simplest form of thinking because they just did it and it's fresh in their mind. But when you have students maybe to analyze not just one but two things, or they are comparing and contrasting, if you ask them to take bits and pieces of information and put it all together, that's synthesizing, you're moving up into the higher levels of thinking, and it does require deeper thought, and that's a tougher workout on a student's brain, but you have to have a good balance of all kinds of questions. That way they experience success with, some things are easy and some are not, but they've got to be able to do all kinds. So we try to push them into that higher level of thinking.
And that's important because it's critical thinking skills that as an adult you will need, to perform anyway in the workplace and just to be a productive citizen.
Right.
You'll need those skills. Let's talk a little bit about something that's exciting taking place on the campus of Hogansville Elementary School as it pertains to technology.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the pilot program that's soon to launch. Tell us about it.
All right. Well, we've heard a lot about it, and we've been preparing ourselves for this year. The rollout, has been slow, and we're glad about that, just because we know this is going to be big for students, for parents, for teachers, for administrators. Right now, we do have routers, new routers that have been installed in the school, and we're getting ready to pilot some of the items you see here. You've got beside you a Google Chromebook, which is just like a small laptop. And that's going to be a device that students will be able to use to complete work in the classroom. And this device is just an HP tablet. And we're using a couple of different kinds just to see which ones we think best suit the students. If maybe there's a particular kind that suits kindergarten, while the other might be better suited for 5th grade. But that's just really the beginning. And we're glad that we're going to have a couple of carts of these to push around and to share. And that it will be wireless, which means they'll be able to access the internet. This sort of goes hand in hand with some of the professional development that we've taken part in this year, Web 2.0 tools. I'm sure you've heard about it.
I have.
And we have a lot is really not even the right term. There is so much available for education in the way of apps and websites and just programs and things. We've started to use a few of those, even through Promethean boards, which are already installed in the school. But once we are able to go wireless completely, we'll be able to hand these devices to students and let them sort of take command of their own learning and navigate through the apps to do that. And I think we're going to see student engagement on the rise, bigger and better than it's ever been.
Because they're already into digital devices
right. This is where we are.
At a very, very young age.
That's right.
Yeah.
We do kind of see that we might be moving towards bring your own device. We hope to be, because we want everyone to be able to hold something in their hand that they're comfortable with and access the curriculum through that. And we're just excited. We don't have all of the answers, and we want to be careful that we're bringing education to the students the way that it should be brought to them. So we've got a lot of people working on committees to develop the right ways to do that. But in the meantime, we're just very excited that we're going to get this opportunity.
Well, keep us posted on how this pilot turns out. I'm sure it will be a great success.
We will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, and you mentioned that in education it's always changing, and we know that, and a part of that change is technology.
Mm-hmm.
And as things change, curriculum, funding, legislation, all of that ties together, and it affects how we're able to deliver education, and it also can impact student achievement. But one of the greatest factors that we've come to learn just through research is that parental involvement is extremely important. So tell us, at Hogansville Elementary, how do you engage parents, and how important is parental involvement?
It's so important that we start from the very beginning of the year. When we advertise for registration, we already know that day, Meet the Teacher Day or registration, that's going to be the day that we see everyone. So we begin then with our outreach to them, and it continues through the year. We do communicate a lot. Communication is a big part of keeping the link healthy between the home and the school. Mm-hmm. So we do it through newsletters. Our website right now is under construction, but so we're not using that as much. But we, in its place, have put Remind 101, which is an app, and it's free. It's available for educators to set up classes, or like Mr. Bryant, our principal, he uses it, and it's not really a class, but it's a group of parents, and just by signing up through either their cell phone or through a personal computer, they're able to receive information straight from the principal, and it's instantaneous. So that's really nice. We always advertise out in front of our school, on our sign out front. But I think that you said something that was key. The technology is really going to be a piece that allows us to communicate even more broadly. And once that website is back up, I think it's going to be better than ever. And we just advertise a lot. So when the parents are there, we talk to them. You know, Hogansville is a small community, and that can have its advantages, because when you tell your PTO president and they begin to network with their people, and it is its own little network. So they do talk to one another as well and encourage each other to be a part of the school. We have what we call Fun Fridays. That's through our family assistant and our counselor, and in the past they've targeted groups of students by grade level and tried to, I'll use 4th grade as an example. The math, once they get to 4th grade, just can seem overwhelmingly complicated for the students. Mm-hmm. Then when they take it home to the parents,
right,
it's multiplied.
Right.
So there is a new level of frustration, because the parents aren't really sure sometimes how to help the kids or support their homework. So we have specifically designed lessons or workshops, so to speak, with the parents on doing the math, giving them some strategies on how they can help the kids at home. The parents sign up and they come. We always have door prizes, and we just invite them. We want them to know they're welcome.
Hogansville Elementary is such an inviting school anyway, a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are at the close of the show, believe it or not.
Wow.
And but before we close out today, please tell us about any upcoming events or programs or activities, and maybe our audience will come out and connect.
Sure. Spring is a great time for, let's see, the younger students, pre-K through 2nd grade, will have a spring fling dance coming up. Kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade will have conferences, parent conferences, and we always have a great turnout for that, and that's just another good connection with the teachers and the parents. We've got standardized testing coming up in April.
And that's the
CRCT, and parents are key in that. How things function at home has a lot of impact on how they might further function at school.
So make sure those children are well rested.
Right, lots of love, lots of
love and
encouragement at
yes.
that time of the year. And we will be having one more open house, PTO parent night, where we usually spotlight our book fair
Okay.
and do fun things with the parents, and that'll be April the 17th.
Okay.
So that's coming up as well.
Well, thank you for being here today. And if someone wants to learn more about Hogansville Elementary School, who can they contact, and is there a contact number you'd like to share?
Sure. Thank you
Okay.
for having me.
Oh, my
and I just want to invite everyone, all of our parents and community stakeholders, if you need anything from Hogansville Elementary, you can reach me or Mr. Bryant, our principal, by calling 706-812-7990. And we are on Troup County School System email, and you can look us up there as well.
Well, thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you.
And thank you, our viewing audience, for tuning in. This has been Spotlight on Education. Until next time, make it a great day.